So, hello and welcome to Casting Roles, a persistent D&D campaign played by a bunch of theater nerds. Thanks for joining us, and Sully. Before we begin, just a few brief announcements. If you're enjoying the campaign, don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe so you don't miss an episode. If you think you know someone who might enjoy, please share on social media. You can find us on Twitter at Casting Roles and on Facebook at Casting Roles ILM, and you can access all of our links, our merch store, and other information on our website, castrolls.com. Episodes stream every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and video uploads will be available on YouTube the following Friday. With no further announcements, let's go ahead and start the show. So, ticket takers. After returning to the town of Broadfield with your writs of commendation and the money needed to establish the Adventurers Guild, you were informed by Roland of the chaotic plans of the shifty figure Soren Nerida. The man, at the behest of an organization called the Tide Warders Syndicate, was going to burn the town of Broadfield to use as a terror tactic in subjugating other communities within the Riverlands to their dark whims. After the tense battle, you were able to best Soren, ridding the town of the current threat. With letters needing deciphering and answers needing research, you headed to the Monastery of the Third Eye at the welcome of Herman Quayle, one of the leading monks there. After being welcomed at the monastery grounds by Hermund and their leader Vritorum, you perused the stacks, gained new information about Ahriman, and were offered a respite from your difficult day of battle. The next morning, the day of Ascension upon you, you awoke to the celebratory atmosphere of the monastery. With several attractions around, you first grabbed some food and then headed out to explore. All of you met with a mysterious fortune teller, Lady Ms. Mira, who gave some interestingly specific tarot card readings. And upon exiting the tent, you find yourself with the rest of the attractions and the full day before you. As you kind of enter in, you notice that the clouds are beginning to kind of descend, and there's a little bit of snowfall in the air, which is odd this late in spring, but there's just a few white flakes falling. And so, ticket takers, with the day of Ascension ahead of you, what would you like to do?
Didn't Mar split off?
I ran away, right?
Mar went off. I couldn't remember where Mar went.
I don't think I said where I went.
You just walked away.
Yeah. I didn't really have a goal. I guess I want to go visit. There was that tent that was like further off from the rest of the like area.
Yeah.
I don't remember what that was, but I want to go there.
I'll just remind everybody really quickly what the offerings were, just so you can keep in mind, and then we'll do where Mar's heading. So there's a tent, a larger tent where there are readings and performances happening throughout the day. And so there were 3 specific performances that you heard were going to happen. Herman was going to perform his Song of the Nine about the founding story of the creation of Alyria. A group of bards from the Club Orphidia in Anorvir were going to perform a new form of music, telling a story of local legend, but in some new and exciting way, apparently. And then there was a group of changeling actors who were performing the story of the Abyss Lord, who is one of the first guardians who slayed their Lightbringer. There were food stalls in one section with a few offerings. Lady Mizmir's fortune teller tent. The Halls of Origination, which is a school for artificers, was setting up a kind of an exhibition tent where they were showing off some of their wares, and they were also going to be doing a fireworks show later that evening in celebration. And then the tent off away from everything else, all you learned was that it was a group of people from a community known as Starfall, who were there to talk about their community with the people, and not much more information was gleaned from that. So, Mar, you kind of make your way over to this tent, and it's a beautiful tent. It's violet, kind of ombre down to kind of a deep black. And there are some banners hanging in the front with this like vibrant teal, and it looks almost like on the banner is like this circular shape with this image of what looks like a floating island, and then like 3 spires sticking off the top of the island, and that's kind of the central theme of their banner. And then the opening is slightly kind of open, but you'd have to kind of pull the tent aside to go into it. You don't hear any voices coming from inside or anything.
Okay. I'll very gingerly kind of like pull back the tent and go, hello.
Okay, so you open the tent, and initially, like, your eyes have to adjust for a moment because it's very dark inside, and there's this fragrance drifting from inside that you don't recognize. It's very kind of earthy, but also floral, and there's for a moment goes by, and then you just kind of hear this music in the air that just seems to have a sourceless music, and after a moment, these 2 figures, both in matching cloaks of violet with teal brocade, and each has the same symbol that was on the banner on there. Their hands kind of like in the arms of their cloaks, kind of walk out with these smiles on their face, and they say, "Welcome," in unison, together at the same time. "Welcome to the Starfall tent. We are the Star Speakers. Thank you for joining us. What brings you by the tent today?"
I just wanted to see what your deal was.
Oh, well, and then they kind of separate, and where there wasn't before, you now see there's a table behind them, and on the table is a diorama, basically, of a mountainside with a large impact crater in the center, and kind of propped up on, posts or whatever, is a floating island with like 2 smaller floating islands around it. And they're saying, "This is Starfall, a community that not many are aware of." And they're bouncing back and forth. So you get, and their voices are so in unison, it's hard to tell who's really talking. But like one will have their mouth closed and will say, the opening part of a sentence, and then the other one will finish the sentence, and then they just are bouncing back and forth this way. This is a community that not many are aware of. There was a comet that impacted Alyria some 150 years ago, and from the ashes of that comet, we have built a new civilization, some might call a utopia. Starfall is known for its its welcoming of all people, of all kinds. We have no discrimination. We have equal sharing of resources and needs. There's no leaders. We all speak and take part equally in the governance of our lands, and there is plenty of food for everyone, and we just are going around the world as Star Speakers, informing Illyrians that there's space still available for those who would like to potentially visit and join us.
Is this like a religious thing? It feels like a religious thing.
They turn and look at each other and they say, "While we do not oppose the religion of the Nine, Starfall believes much more in the humanism of people, and believes in the strength of people to make their own decisions outside of the edicts of all-powerful beings."
Cool. Where is this?
So, if you are you familiar with the area around Lake Tanatsa?
Yeah.
And the moment they say that, Mar, you're like, wait a second. Go ahead and roll a history check.
Okay. That's pretty good. D&D Beyond, do you want to tell me what I add to that? That would be helpful, if you would. That is a 16.
A 16. So the moment they're like, okay, a comet, an impact crater, and then you're like Lake Tanatsa, because there are other smaller impact craters, like, meteors have hit Alyria before. It's not something, but you're like, wait a second, like you've heard rumors of such a thing existing on the far northern end of Lake Tanatsa, near the Nomad's Rise, which is like the kind of the unforgiving northern area. You've never been in that area, and most people who live in the Veltland don't ever traverse that far, but you have heard legends of it around that part of the world. So it's not too far from where you grew up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. So you're just like recruiting?
Oh, well, I suppose you might call our actions recruiting, but we really see it as more of a welcoming.
Rad. Well, that's a really great sales pitch, and I'm gonna keep it in mind. So.
Yes. And one of them kind of is gesturing very broadly towards the thing and drawing your attention. And then while they're doing that, the other one says, I suggest you consider it much more deeply as the day goes forward. And I need you to roll a wisdom saving throw.
Oh no! Oh no! That's not super great. Well, 12?
12, and my phone just died with my thing up, so hold on 1 second.
Oh.
Edit this
I can't
part.
wait to abandon the campaign because they can just gonna move
It sounds like a high
into their
vibe,
gated
like,
community.
All right, so the direct, you don't know that they cast a spell because you failed the
Yeah.
wisdom savings throw.
Sure.
But for the course of the next 8 hours, they told you to strongly consider visiting Starfall. So you, in some way, in the way that you can justify carrying that out, either considering or whatever, you have that inclination.
Suggestions.
Cool. You know what? I was being a little sarcastic before. It actually does sound pretty cool.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, you know, I'm gonna go pitch this to my friends actually and see what they think about it.
Oh,
So,
we have many openings available, so we would love any that would be willing to be welcome to Starfall.
you guys are nice. I'm gonna leave now.
And
I
they-
would like to leave.
They bow and they let you exit.
Cool. As I'm walking out of this tent, can I try to like get a feel for like the area we're in? Like, are we like out in the open right now? Like, where is stuff? You know what I mean?
So this tent is like the main monastery is probably 150 feet away.
Okay.
Everything else is clustered very closely around the monastery. So while this is off
Okay.
on its own, it's not like a super long distance away.
Right. And is there? I mean, what am I asking here? So is there like, I guess like are the woods visible here, or like what's kind of like naturally around this area?
So this area, so the riverbank runs right alongside one side of the monastery, and then it's
Okay.
a fairly open field. The forest, the closest forest is probably 500 or 600 feet away.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, then I guess I'll just start looking for the rest of the gang, because I have an MLM pitch to make.
All right, go ahead and roll a perception check as you're looking around. And
Okay.
what is everyone else doing while
Hey,
Mar?
it's a natural one. I am so distracted by the thought of Starfell right now. I cannot find it.
Perfect. What's
You
everyone
have
else
been
doing?
Summoned to Lake Yao Gai.
Oh no! Oh wait, no!
There's no war in Bossing Say.
Oh my god, no!
That is hilarious.
All right, so what's everyone else up to?
Go ahead.
Checking out the snacks.
All right, so you head over to the snack stall, and there are only 3 stalls set up. One is Joss, Roland's wife, and you see that you guys hyped up those cucumber sandwiches a lot, and she seems to be selling cucumber sandwiches. There is a small Kinku in a kind of a push cart next to her, who I think Mar, you're not with them, but you saw this Kinku on the opening, the day he was on the main thoroughfare. You passed by him.
Okay.
Yeah. So he's there, and he looks like he's selling like various different roasted nuts with different kind of seasonings on them, and he's roasting them right there, so they're super fresh. And then on a it seems quickly put together, almost like a cart that was put up with maybe just a slat of wood across it, and then the stock is just in the cart and can be put up on the wood. You see Menorah from the town of Northwick, and she is selling her Northwick buns and other pastries.
No.
Yes, expanding the brand.
Mm-hmm. You guys have encouraged people, so there you go.
It's bun time.
Bun time. All right. So you go up to Menorah, Kaimana?
Yeah.
All right, the moment she sees you, she's like, "Oh my gosh, my friends! I was so hoping that I would see you all today. I must say that you have inspired me, and I decided to bring my wares to sell to a broader market to see if the Northwick Bun brand can potentially take off."
Good for you. How's it going?
Oh, it's going well. We've sold several of our festival buns for today, which are special Northwick buns with kind of special seasoning. God knows what Metasansi is interested in, but I put raisins in them. I don't know. But I've got some other kind of sweet buns and some savory buns as well, and everything just seems to be flying off the shelves. These monks can really eat.
Yeah. How's the raisin selling?
It's pretty well. Not as well as she kind of points to one, and she's like, the raspberry ones are going a little better.
Yeah.
Can I get you anything, my little friend?
Let me try. I get one of the raspberry.
Okay. She
and
pulls
one
it.
of the raisin.
All right. She kind of pulls those two aside, and she wraps them up in some paper and hands them over to you. She says, "Friends discount. It'd be only 3 copper."
Oh, thank you.
Yes. I am doing festival prices for everyone else, but I wouldn't be here if it weren't for you all. So.
You would be here, I'm sure, because you're so good.
Oh, you are too kind. Was anybody else with Kaimana?
I'll say that I tagged along. I want
Okay.
to see this one lady.
Can I get anything for you as well?
Yes, I will take 5 of the buns with the raisins.
Oh, yes. And she kind of bags them up. And then you see, like, you kind of deplenish her stock, and she kind of reaches into the cart and pulls out a few more and sets them up. And then she hands them over to you, and she kind of does some calculations in the air. Let's say 7 copper.
7 copper. I'm glad to see that you are doing well.
Yes, I'm hoping that this takes off. It's just been so pleasant today. I rode up here all by myself. It was just me and the horse and the cart and the fresh pastries, and I was able to, just kind of breathe the air and not listen to, other people talking in my ear all the time. And I was it's just been a wonderful, wonderful day.
How is your husband doing? Is he back in town?
Oh, his leg is still broken, and he is still laid up in the cottage, and he's still drinking. But things are about as good as they always are.
But when you return home, please give him our best.
I will give him your best. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you both. Yes. And you should really, if you want to check out this, and she kind of points, and she's like, I've had the most interesting conversations. I've never met a Kinku before, but his name is Sifter. He has the most delicious, this is such a weird thing to say, he has the most delicious nuts.
We would give his stall a quick visit.
Yes, and I don't know if you've ever had any encounters with Kinkus, but good luck.
I'm trying to think. Oh, okay.
I want this woman's small business to take off so hard that she finally kicks
I
out
know.
her deadbeat husband.
If you guys
I'm
keep
invested
buying
in
her
this energy.
buns,
He's now the
So
main
much.
goal of the campaign. We don't know what you have planned, Josh, but
No.
this is our main goal.
I mean, if you guys,
We should, like,
I told you like 2 episodes ago, you guys could become Alyrian Yelp and just like do that. So I've kept track of how much you've bought. You guys have given her a pretty substantial kind of startup fund so far. So
I just gave her 7 copper. Is that substantial?
yeah, but earlier you bought like a map from her for like 5 gold. So like,
Oh, really?
yeah.
We're gonna come back and she'll be owning a town.
Exactly.
Northwick wasn't a big town, so yeah.
Mm-hmm. I guess we'll check out the nut stand guy.
And as you kind of go on, there's a couple other, a monk from the monastery comes up to her, and then there's a small child from Broadfield with his mother, and they come up and they're getting pastries as well. And so she seems to be doing really good business. And you walk over to the Kinku, and he just says, "Fine nuts."
Fine nuts. Say, hello, what types of nuts are you selling?
Types of nuts I'm selling.
Oh, how much are your nuts?
Nuts are much.
Nuts.
One,
He
two, three,
points.
4, 5.
He points, and there is a sign directly in front, and it says like in chicken scratch. It says like chestnuts, 2 copper, hazelnuts, 3 copper, almonds and cashews, 4 copper.
I'll have some of your hazelnuts.
Hazelnuts, and he goes and there's like a little, he has a kind of a barrel that there's a fire underneath, and he's got a pan there, and he really deftly tosses some hazelnuts in it, and he starts kind of doing this little dance around the fire and like kind of tossing them in this pan, super hot, and you can start to immediately smell the hazelnut fragrance kind of going. And after a couple moments, he reaches over and grabs a bag and deftly tosses the hazelnuts into the bag and hands it over to you. Hazelnuts.
Thank you.
Thank you. So I will have the same, my friend.
The same, my friend. And he does the same little thing, and he gets his little dance going, and he makes his hazelnuts, and he did it, and hands it over to you.
Oh, thank you. And how much was that?
How much was that?
It's on the sign. Just look right there.
Oh, I see it now. Thank you.
I see it now. Thank you.
And I'll hand him was it 7 copper?
Thank you.
I've spent
It
too
was
much.
3. It was 3 for hazelnuts.
Yeah, it's 3 for hazelnuts.
3? Okay.
Yeah.
So I kind of want
Give him
it.
a 7. He did
Or
dinner and a show.
Be sure
I
to
want
tip your
the
waiter.
small businesses to merge, like his nuts and her sweet buns.
You
Yeah.
better not call it nutty buns.
She's taking a liking to
I
him,
just
so.
want you to understand how hard I'm having to resist bringing up lines from the sweaty balls
Oh, no.
on Saturday Night Live.
Oh, that
Thank you.
sketch.
Thank you for holding back.
Eyebrow.
Yeah, it's just
Eyebrow.
I'm not going to say any of them, but they're there.
Okay, I'll kind of wander off. I want to head towards the tent for the halls of origination tent.
So you kind of
The artifact.
go ahead and they pointed out where things were, so you kind of know the general direction. As you're walking away, you see the little child that was with was at Menora's tent has made his way over to the Kinku's tent and is now the Kinku Sifter and the little child are going back and forth, going fine nuts, fine nuts, fine nuts, fine nuts, and the mother's like, stop saying that, and like as you guys kind of walk away, Kaimon, are you kind of continuing to explore the foods, or are you heading off with Abel in his direction?
Stay with the food.
Stay with the foods. All right, Soris, what are you up to?
I have found a barrel to sit on, and I am staring at snow, which I've never seen before.
Interesting. Nice. How, like, yeah, this is maybe the first time you've seen snow. Doesn't happen very often in this area, especially this late in the
High
the
Tower's
year.
further south.
And
so-
High Tower's further south. Yep. Yeah. So interesting. There's a few times where it kind of comes down and it lands on the tip of your nose, and you're like kind of shocked by the sudden like cold, but it's not an unpleasant thing. I'm sure it's just a little weird.
Yeah, and the fact that no one else is reacting to it.
No, nobody else is. And at this point, it is falling a little heavier, and so you see people starting to like gather their cloaks around and kind of pull their hoods up around their necks, and but no one seems kind of bothered by it. It's kind of that festival air of like a little bit of snow during festival, and the lights is beautiful, and so everyone's kind of just wandering around, and everyone seems to be having a good time. So. All right, good. Kaimana, do you make your way to Joss's tent, or you...
Yeah.
Okay, so you head over, and Joss says, I know you.
Oh.
I bet you can't guess what I'm selling today.
Can I roll for perception, I guess, and take a sniff?
Sure, yeah. Go ahead.
With advantage, I'm sure an otter has a pretty good nose.
I don't know. If he has keen senses, then he would. I don't remember if they do. But it is food, so I'll give Kaimana advantage anyway.
Yeah.
That's 20, 30.
So you kind of sniff for a moment, and you immediately smell the same fragrance of like one of the first meals that Joss ever brought to you all when you were first kind of establishing the Adventurers Guild, were these small sandwiches, like perfectly carved and cut, that were just, cucumber with some kind of aioli or whatever on them. Not anything super flavorful, but presentory, and she is definitely very proud of them, and you guys sang their praises, so she is now selling them.
Smells like definitely cucumber
Oh,
and rye bread,
yes, good nose.
mayonnaise, nope, aioli with chipotle in it.
Oh, a nice catch. I thought about doing just basic garlic, but I thought, it's the day of Ascension. Have a little fun. Put a little chipotle in it, Oh, good. For that, I'll give you one for free on the house.
Thank you.
And she hands it over. She is selling them for 2 silver a sandwich.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Are they like the little tea sandwiches too? So
Yeah.
they're like tiny.
I mean, for Kaimana, they're like, like maybe like a half-size sandwich, but for a regular, like your size would be definitely a tea-size sandwich, yeah.
It's so nice to see you again, but I have a lot of food here now, and I just need to go find somewhere and like lay down and eat.
Oh, I don't lay down. That's interesting. Anyway, I don't blame you. I will be here all day, so please feel free if you get another little peckishness. I might, I'll see you around, hopefully.
I'll let you know.
Have you seen my husband anywhere?
No, I haven't.
Neither have I. If you do, let him know that I'm not looking for him, but then tell him I would like to see him.
There's
Okay,
a
then.
madness.
It's a running theme in this campaign.
I mean, it's Roland, so I don't know. All right.
Alright, I'm gonna go find a nice shady spot.
Good. And there...
Someplace by a fire, I guess.
Okay, and there are there's not any like kind of open fires. There is the open air cafeteria area that you guys got breakfast in, and there is a fire in there. If you wanted to go kind of under that shelter and kind of sit next to that. Good. Yeah, and there's tables, but they also just kind of have some kind of like lounging, pillows and things like that. So wherever you would feel most comfortable.
Bean bags.
Yeah. Yeah, basically.
Beanbags.
All right. Around this time, Mar, you're kind of walking around, and you make your way past, and you see Abel walk from behind a tent heading towards another tent, and he finally crosses your field of vision. It's been about 10 minutes or so of searching.
Oh, Abel. Hi.
How are you? Where did you get off to?
Listen. I went to the tent, right? The like Starfall tent with the like community, and I was like, it's gonna be weird, and it was weird, but I don't know, Matt. I feel like we should check it out at some point. Just got this feeling. It's like they built it in like a comet, and it like maybe is floating. I didn't really get that part, but it looks cool.
The tent is floating?
No, but that would be a really cool thing if they had done that. No, it's like a community and like people live there.
Oh, you want to go to Starfall?
I mean, we're like, I don't know. Feel like maybe we should just like check it out at some point, see what's going on.
At some point, we do have a lot of things on our agenda to do. We still have to.
Yeah. But if we could just like make time, maybe, or at some point.
We will talk to the group, and I will back you up on this. If we have time, we will definitely visit Starfall. Right?
Thank you, Abel. I knew I could trust you.
I have some sticky buns. Our friend from Ipswich.
Northwick.
Northwick. Sorry. Northwick, which is south of
south of Broadfield. Yes.
Yep.
Yes, our friend from Northwick is here with her own tent. So I have a few sticky buns. If you want to have one.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Thanks. Where are you headed?
I'm going to check out the Halls of Origination tent. I want to see the artifices there and the things that they've come up with. It's where I wanted to go to school before my mother convinced me to go to the Violet Cloister. So I want to what they've come up with, and maybe they can give me some inspiration on some things that I can increase my battle prowess with.
Yeah, maybe they can help you finally land that fire spell that never really.
That was a low blow. That was my first spell.
No, the elephant always works. I mean, it seems weird.
Well, this was fun, Mar. Thank you.
I'm sorry.
Never insult an artificer.
It was a joke. It wasn't a good one.
Never insult an artificer's creations.
So, Abel, you making your way towards the tent. Mar, are you following him, or are you off in search to convince the others?
No, I've deeply hurt Abel. I guess I'll go back to the like tent area, like the main kind of area.
Okay.
Just walk around.
You kind
Before I go to the tent, I'll find Saurus, and I'll also offer him one of the buns I got.
Okay, and so Abel now is kind of walking in the direction that you would have walked, Mar. So you kind of follow along with him, and then you guys see Saurus there, just kind of sitting on a stump, basically, just staring at the snow.
Okay, I'll walk up.
You having fun, buddy?
Yeah. Enjoying the weather?
I've never seen something like this before, but no one seems to be freaking out.
Oh. Yeah, this is, it's just weather. It's not a huge deal. It's called snow.
Pretty though. Snow.
It is very gorgeous.
Yeah, it's nice.
How long have you been this way, Saurus?
2 years.
And
in Hightower.
You were, I assume, inside most of that time?
I was inside at the start. Once I joined the monastery, I was able to go in and out. But I've never seen snow before.
I understand. Well, we'll have plenty of time to experience a lot of different weather on our adventures. You should enjoy the snow while you can.
Thank you.
Would you like a sticky bun?
Yes, please.
Yeah, hand him a sticky bun. And then I'll say, be careful. Ma has some very cutting words today.
All right. Well, I said I was sorry.
What is done is done. Just,
Please still pitch to the rest of the group.
All right.
Yeah, and I'll just make my way to the tents.
All right. Mar, do you hang around with Saurus or?
I'll chill with Saurus for a bit.
Okay. Do you guys have any conversation piece?
If Saurus just wants to sit and like silence, I'm not gonna like break that
All right,
for him.
sounds good. So Abel, you head towards the Halls of Origination tent, which is the most impressive tent in display. You notice that as people get close to it, the flaps of the tent automatically kind of withdraw and pull up. There's kind of a pulley system on the elements, and there's kind of fog that shoots up in places, and there's lights that are glowing from certain origins, and there's obvious arcane nature to a lot of this. There's dancing lights kind of circling around, and there's a couple unseen, like you recognize the workings of unseen servants and that are kind of juggling things over in a corner, and there's one of the artificers is very clearly using mage hand to control a contraption, but as you walk in, it's kind of like it is like walking into like a science fair expo. There's just like 5 or 6 main things that they're showing off, and go ahead and roll just like a general perception check as you're taking in the scene.
Please tell me they have the trifold things with like the paper pen to them.
100%. Like this device is
the things like the science fairs where you always have the 3-panel backing board.
Yeah. Perception. Where's my perception? There it is. Okay. Did it roll it? Okay, a 17.
17. Okay, so the first thing you notice is that there are only about 5 people here who are wearing official uniforms, and their uniforms are like navy pants, kind of navy shirts with this white sash going across the chest, and there is like an interlocking gear logo in gold on the white. And there's one individual who looks to be maybe in his 50s. All 4 of the other individuals look like they're your age or just a little bit older. And so this kind of it looks almost like a college professor taking his freshman class on an excursion to show off their work. And so they're kind of there, and the 4 are stationed around, and the one is just kind of, and the older gentleman is just kind of walking in between and like listening to them as they talk about what they're doing with the local people. The first one you come across is a water pump, basically, that works in that they're saying that it would work even in areas where you are below sea level, and like where sometimes you have issues with the alluvial springs and things like that, that this allows you to redirect the water so that you can get it exactly where you need it without having to worry about water pressure. And so it's a very useful component, but it, like, looking at it, you're like, we've had that in Noavia for a while, like this isn't new. And then as you get to kind of the second one, it's an ever-burning lantern oil that seems to be created from a fungus of some kind. They talk about the distilling process of pulling out the natural oils of this fungus, and then as long as they keep the fungus fed, it bleeds the oils naturally into the basin, and over time this can provide enough light to provide a candle light that ever burns. The third person is showing off. They don't have an arm. On their left arm is gone, and you briefly hear them talking about, like, they ran into an accident when they were a child, where a cart ran over their arm and they had to have their arm amputated. And they're showing off a wooden metallic contraption that they can move and bend and control, and you can see runes on it. So it's an arm that allows them to kind of reach out and grab things. And you're like, okay, well, like that's a kind of a traditional artificer design. But then there's a moment where they kind of open their hand, and one of the fingers like spins, and now it's a like a screwdriver. And so they can like use it to like turn screws and things, and then they take another one, and they like from in there they like pour out, and they've stored screws inside, and they can just immediately pop a screw into a thing and then screw it in with their hand. And so it looks like they've built compartments and areas of storage within there to make it a much more useful tool for someone building or constructing things. Yeah. And so you're just kind of walking around seeing all of them, and as the older gentleman is walking around, he's like, very good, nice. Don't forget to talk about the compartment for the power cell. We found a cell power that is not as efficient as Zephrysite, but is more abundant in Alyria. So don't forget to bring that up. And the younger student nods and kind of adds in their description of that.
So I guess I will try to strike up a conversation with the professor.
Okay. So you walk up and greet him, and he, hello. I recognize your garb. Are you from Noevia?
Yes, I am from Nuevia. I must say your tent is the most impressive one here at the entire festival.
Thank you. This is our first year at the festival, and we wanted to put on a good show.
I'm glad that I came this year then.
Yes. Do you live in the capital city, or are you from another part of the country?
In the capital of Nuevia?
Noevia, yes, sorry, yes.
I grew up in the capital. I finished my initial studies and came to Alyria to continue my learning.
I did some of my studying there as a younger man. When the Halls of Origination and the Noevians were doing their first exchange of artificer knowledge, I was one of the first classes that went to Noevia to study the Noevian way.
Yes, I had hopes to come to Cindervale to learn, but my mother did her exchange studies at the Violet Cloister. She was very adamant that I should go there. But I have a deep respect for your ways and your teachings.
But are you an artificer or are you a mage?
I am an artificer. My mother is a mage.
I feel like your mother does not want you to be an artificer. She does not want you to come to Cindervale.
She wants me to have a diverse knowledge of the way magics work.
Perhaps that is fair. But would you care to show me some of your creations? I would love to see.
If you want to see, then I'll just pull out everything that I've created. My firebolt marker, and then I'll pull out my Eldritch Cannon, and I'll show him how I can change it. It can either be the flamethrower mode, or it can be like a force ballista mode, and I can leave it at rest. And then I'll pull out all of my I'll just lay them out on the table, completely unaware of all the things I'm pushing out of the way to show him. Show him all of my little creations and knickknacks and stuff.
He kind of helps clear a space, and he says, well, it's a very fine collection here. I can see the Noevian make in you that you have adopted the animal forms for most of your things.
Yes, we do have a lot of respect for nature. So I wanted to incorporate that.
That is something I always appreciate about Noevians. If you see, my students are all trying to do things that would better people's relationship with nature, or their own ability to handle and work with things as well.
Yes, it's good to have a respect for the way that things are natural.
Yes. So over the course of the next, this probably can take you an hour or so. You and the gentleman whose name is, where did I write it down? Because now I have to go to my Halls of Origination thing. Gerard. Gerard's his first name, and then Volt Switch is his last name.
And what is his title?
He's just an instructor.
Instructor.
Yeah.
Oh man, I'll put it on.
Over the
What's his
court,
name again?
Gerard Volt Switch.
Name like that, you literally have to be an artificer.
It's and he, over the course of the next hour, you learn that he is the prime instructor of the first year students of the Halls of Origination. So if you had gone to the Halls of Origination, he would have been your teacher. But you share everything that you've constructed with him. He kind of helps guide you in how to repair your firebolt tool. He shows you a couple more mechanisms and ways that you can adapt some of your mechanisms to kind of alternate the energy that they dispel. So instead of a fire energy, perhaps it's a force energy. He pulls in some runes that you're aware of that he say come from a warlock school. And so he's kind of guiding you into how to to edit and change some of your things so that they're more versatile.
And I'll also tell them about an idea I had to use my quarterstaff, my tonfa, to help focus some of my spells.
Okay. Yeah.
And how I've been working with like glass blowing and stuff.
Nice. Yeah. And so for the next hour, you guys have this, which does give you access to your what is it? The Magic Initiate feat?
Yes.
Yeah, that'll give you access to that because he helps you repair and fix those elements so that you can channel those new energies using those tools.
Cool.
All right. So while Abel is doing that, anybody, Kaimana, Marlosaurus?
At a certain point.
Why did I eat the raisins?
Oh no!
Oh, buddy.
All right, Saurus, were you?
I am going to eventually decide to go over to the entertainment tent.
Okay. So the entertainment tent.
And I asked Marlo if she is coming with me.
I come
Yeah.
Marlo loves theater.
I do. So much.
All right. So you head over, and this is while it's not as showy as the Halls of Origination tent, it is the largest. It's kind of a large three pointed tent, and there are lots of benches set up on the inside, and there is kind of a central stage area. And as you walk in, you see.
But I'm done at this point. I wanted to go to the entertainment tent.
Probably not for the first bit of
Okay.
it, but you'd eventually kind of be able to kind of pop in. What you see is that they're setting up for the first performance, which is the Changeling Theater Troupe.
Okay.
Which changelings? I don't know. Actually, everyone who is in the tent, go ahead and roll a history check when you hear the Changeling Theater Troupe.
First roll on my new dice, nat 20.
Nice.
Oh,
14.
And what is this, investigation?
Just history. Yeah.
History, it's 20.
20. Yeah. 14. Mar. Kamana.
17.
17. So hearing Changeling does not strike a bell for you, Kaimana, and Mar only vaguely have you heard the term. But Saurus, surprisingly, somebody who's never seen snow, you do remember at some point in time when you were in Hightower that there was...
Well, I figure for experimentation and converting animals into other things, there was probably a changeling involved in the process.
And whether or not you build that connection, there was definitely a time where changelings do make their way to Hightower often, because they are they're a rarer race of individuals, but they are one of the key kind of messenger groups between the Violet Cloister and their mage operatives in other cities. And so they do work with the other acumen cells. So like the monks of the Four Winds would have had some of these messengers arrive, and they're used specifically as messengers because they can change their appearance so quickly that you would think you're following one person, and then they would change their appearance and you would like lose who you're following. So you've encountered them before at the monastery. Whether or not they showed up at you didn't see them in the area, but that ability to change their shape so quickly does make you think a lot about what happened in the laboratory. So at some point you guys watch 4 individuals walk on stage, and they're all very kind of white-faced, just tall, androgynous in their appearance and dress. And then just kind of
Stardust.
Yeah. One by one they say, "Thank you so much for joining us." And then the moment they say that, it's like shift. They shift into character. And one takes the appearance of this very attractive, bearded, rugged-looking man of strong musculature. The other is a thinner, more svelte male figure. And then one is very dark in their features and kind of elvish in make, drowish in nature, which Soris, you would have seen drows in the Rift, so that would kind of pop there. And then the fourth figure kind of transforms their appearance into a dragonborn of platinum skin. And they start to tell their story, and you immediately are engrossed in this action of the figure of the stronger man is the very first guardian, who was tasked by Anor to protect the Lightbringer. And all of you know in the area that the Lightbringers are the ones who keep the lights in the Terrace Anor, the temple, the light towers lit. That keeps the Veil at bay. And so their job is to protect the Lightbringers so that they can keep the light going and keep the Veil at bay. But during the subversion, one of the great first betrayals was that this guardian, who was in love with this Lightbringer, he killed him and turned himself over to the darkness and became what is now known as the Abyss Lord, and was one of the greatest kind of generals and villains of the subversion on the other side. And so you guys watch over the course of an hour and a half or so as this tale of love slowly developing. One of them complaining about how much they hate sand all the time, and then like they traveling across the world together, and then arriving at the light tower. But then that darker figure training the Lightbringer, while that dragon figure whispers into the ear of the guardian to strike the Lightbringer down and to bring an end to the light. And over the course of this, you eventually see the Lightbringer killed, and then the Abyss Lord fade into the darkness of offstage of the Veil, and to be never seen again in the world of Alyria, and always condemned to be viewed as a great betrayer. And the moment they kind of finish, and there's people crying in the audience, and there's immediate like applause and cheers as they produce, and then they all come back on stage and shift back into their normal kind of whitish skin appearance.
I'll pat Kaimana, since he seems to be very emotionally affected by what's going on.
So beautiful.
Yeah.
And then somebody comes out, and around this time, Abel, you probably would have sauntered over to the tent. Around that time, the Herman comes out, and he says, I've been the MC of ceremonies for this whole thing, and it's a little weird to introduce myself, but my name is Herman Quell. I will be doing the Song of the Nine, which is something I wrote to explain, to children, right? Perhaps about for kids, the origins of Alyria and the downfall of the Nine. And I have a poem, but we don't have to read the poem.
Two things, Josh.
Yeah.
When the performers finished, was there any kind of passing of the hat or any of that stuff? Is that part of this culture, or
at the front there's kind of 3 pots, and so they're like kind of right at the edge, and so as you're leaving you could toss money into any of the pots,
okay.
and they're labeled with the different performers, so they're not like, they don't pass to ask, but it is because a lot of what they talk about, but like before the performers went up, that they talk about is like that the day of Ascension, because it is worshiping Metasansi, who was the founder of theater and the founder of the arts, that the very act of performance is a form of worship, and so while they appreciate the alms, they don't require it. So if you'd like to donate, you're more than welcome to.
Thank you.
But then Herman gets up to perform, and he has his poem about the Song of the Nine, which I will not read the whole thing. But for those who, Soros probably hasn't heard this story, but maybe has.
Yeah, this is going to be interesting for me.
Okay, well then, for Soros' sake, I'll go ahead and read just the whole thing so that Soros hears the whatever. And Herman sings it, and I'm not going to sing, but Herman has this like resonant, like deep, like baritone voice, and it's interesting. He does it all a cappella, but there's this like humming quality to his tone that almost like Soros, you immediately recognize it almost as like some of the kind of the mantras that monks do when they're meditating, that he's able to kind of create that resonance within his chest that creates this constant sound. And so he performs the Song of the Nine. When long ago all was not, and primals raged, they stormed, they fought. The Nine came to the origin plain and sang a song to make order reign. From the chaos the world began, sprang dragons and giants and beasts and man. With life eternal and magic free, the Nine spread peace from land to sea. But in the balance's name death was created, as the shadowed one, the stranger stated, life needs death to be worth living, and from this choice was the end's beginning. From this birth then grew fear, for man knew death was ever near. They cursed the shadow one's domain, and prayed to ate to live again. The stranger cursed, they schemed and plotted, of a world where life decayed and rotted. Calling forth their own domain, they unleashed the veil to end life's reign. The Eight rose to stop their fallen friend, but war raged fierce and without end, until Bellinor, in their endless light, raised towers empowered with their might. While much was lost, the veil was stopped, but the stranger still had schemes to plot. Assaulting the heart of Alyria's core, the stranger tried to murder Bellinor. But the other 7 gave themselves to trap the stranger in a cell. Each turning to a key of light, they banished the stranger far from sight. Bellinor, exhausted from this, sank to sleep forevermore. The 9 now won to protect the land, but peace and hope reigned hand in hand. And he finishes, and the humming sound drones off, and then he just kind of gives his monk's bow. And says, "Well, we'll just be setting up the stage for the performance of our crew from the College of Ophidia. So give us a few minutes and be prepared to be wowed. Apparently, it's new music. It's a new form of music. Thank you all for joining us. We'll be right back." And he kind of steps off the stage to help start setting up. Pulling up the instruments and things for the band to start performing.
It's death metal.
Only.
Can Abel see his friends?
Norwegian death metal.
Norwegian death metal.
Can Abel see his friends and like make his way over to them so we can all sit together through this new experimental music?
Yeah, so you were kind of at the back of the tent when Herman started his performance, and then when he finished, you made your way forward, and you could now sit next to them. Kaiman is sitting there, probably holding his belly, and the others are there. So now Abel joins you all as they're setting up for the band.
And what have you seen?
I had the most amazing day at the tent of the Hall of Origination. I'll show you all everything that I learned. I'll turn to Mar and I'll say, I apologize. I learned there were improvements I could make to my firebolt weapon. I appreciate the criticism.
Listen, I literally could never do what you do, so it's already impressive enough as is.
Thank you. You're quite impressive yourself.
Thanks. Give me one sec. I'm gonna go up. Can I get to like where the money box is for the actors?
Yeah.
And I will drop 3 gold in there for
Okay.
him.
Nice.
And then I will go sit back down.
All right.
But nothing for Herman.
Well, I mean, I feel like he's not gonna take money.
Yeah, there's a spot for him, but you know that Herman is so. I mean, as a monk, like this is his. It's almost like this is his. As a professor, he's reading a work that he's been researching and creating for time. So, for a moment, like the band is still setting up, and you guys see a familiar figure walk into the front of the stage area. And it's Roland, and he's searching around and he's looking. Doesn't see you, and kind of searches around, and then he sees Herman there, and Herman, and he calls him over, and they are whispering for a moment, and then Herman kind of gives him a weird look, and then Herman like scans the audience, and then he sees you guys and points in your direction, and Roland goes, and then Herman goes to the stage and says, as the band is still getting ready to perform, our friend Roland, the mayor of Broadfield, our local community, says he would like to issue a formal proclamation and would like everyone's attention. So as we're getting ready for the band, I guess Roland, and he doesn't even get the words out of his mouth before Roland's like, thank you so much. And he is dressed in his most audacious clothing, shiny and flare and clean, and his hair's just perfectly in place. As you all know, I'm Roland Longbranch, the new mayor for the last year of Broadfield, and have brought much prestige and new shine and promise to our community. But my greatest thing yet has been to establish, or almost, the Adventurers Guild officially with a home in Broadfield. And I would love if we could all please honor those courageous adventurers who not only established the Adventurers Guild, but I would like to today proclaim as the saviors of Broadfield. Ticket takers, please rise, and please be recognized by this wonderful audience. And he's waving for you all to stand up. And Kaimana does. Mars sinks into her seat. Okay.
Yeah, Mar is trying to hide.
Don't be shy. You all deserve the praise. And anyway, so the ticket takers are the new founders of the Adventurers Guild. He's fine on my end. Are you okay? That would. Yeah. Okay.
Never mind. He's back.
Yep. Please stop by. Visit the Gilded Ass Tavern. It is now open for business. And
such a strange
you might run into the Adventurers Guild as they pop in or out on their way to the far reaches of the realm, and to establish Broadfield as the wonderful, amazing place that it is. So thank you to the ticket takers, the saviors of Broadfield, the founders of the Adventurers Guild. And slowly Herman just kind of pushes Roland off the stage. Thank you, Roland. Yes. Thank you, ticket takers. Fine group of people. And the moment Herman says something about you, the whole crowd is like, thank you, that you like, they're cheering and excited about your presence. And they love Kaimana immediately.
Who wouldn't?
Who wouldn't?
Makes sense.
And at that time, a small gnomish figure kind of jumps up on the stage carrying a flute. And then immediately two other gnomes kind of pop up behind them as well. And then a central Goliath goes behind what looks like a stand-up drum kit. And they all have their backs to the audience. And then the lights magically dim. And you see all three of them kind of take a cloak and throw it over their shoulders, and the cloak immediately like begins to magically billow outwards and shimmer in the light. And the lead gnome kind of turns around and says, "Thank you, thank you. We are My Alchemical Romance." And immediately, so for our breaking the fourth wall, the best way that I can possibly connect this is that this is the very first performance ever of emo rock music in a Alyrian world. But the story that they paint, death metal wouldn't have been too far off, because the story they paint is very much, it's a local legend in Broadfield of two wolves. There's a diadem of wolves, one representing the winter and one representing the summer. The winter's wolf name is, oops, I skipped to the wrong page. Oh, there we are. The winter wolf's name is, oh gosh, I didn't write it down. Right there, I wrote it down here. Yeah, the winter wolf's name is Hati, and the summer wolf's name is Skull. And the legend is that on the day of Ascension, these two wolves roam the Riverlands, and they're in a constant dance with one another. And as long as they maintain that dance, and so this song has this like upbeat, like fiery energy, and you can almost feel like the flames of Skull and the icy energy of Hati like moving around one another. And they sing that as long as they maintain this dance in harmony, that the seasons will traverse normally, and that this current phase of late spring will slowly roll into the longer summer. However, they tell of a time long ago when Skull was killed on the day of Ascension by a hunter looking to adorn their walls with this incredible fur. And it drove Hati into a rage, and she blanketed the Riverlands with a blizzard that lasted for another 3 months. So it's the story kind of it's almost like the Groundhog Day story idea of like if the groundhog sees their shadow, you have 6 more weeks of winter type thing. But this is if the dance of these two wolves is disrupted, or one of them were to be killed on the day of Ascension, that there would be a harsher winter that would last for several months longer. And there's this kind of explosive conclusion as Hati is raging after Skull's death, and the lights are flaring, and they're all casting dancing lights that are shimmering across the audience. And then at the last moment, you see a spectral hand appear out of the ground and lift up the gnome in the middle, and he's kind of raised up there on this large hand, and it slowly closes around him and then descends, and then all the lights go out, and when the lights come back up, the hand is gone, and they're all just kind of standing at the front of the performance hall, just bowing and bowing and accepting the praise of an audience kind of blown away by this new performance.
When you said flute, I was thinking Jethro Tull for a second.
Well, I was like, so one's playing the flute, one's got the lute. There's like the stand-up drum kit,
the electric lute.
Yeah. As I kept like bouncing back and forth, I was like, do I want like the Alyrian version of EDM, or do I want no, for this story we're gonna go like late 90s, early 2000s emo rock. For a story of two wolves in a constant dance of love, and then when one of them is killed, their rage causes such a torrent of destruction that it causes the seasons to go out of whack.
We killed no wolves today.
It's a beautiful story.
That was fucking awesome. Well,
I feel hurt inside.
Oh.
No.
None of those stories were happy. I just realized.
I'll help Kamana like have another sticky one.
Oh, you're gonna kill him.
I'm gonna eat my feelings.
I don't know if he has this in the gate.
Come on, have you had like any water or anything?
Kind of thirsty now too.
Okay,
Maybe
we can get you
find some
something
beer
to
for you.
drink.
Yeah. And Herman comes back out and says, "Is there what?"
I was gonna say, is there water in the alchemy jug?
There could be.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
I'll hand Kaimana my water skin.
Oh, no, I got
for
it.
a second. Are you sure?
Yeah.
The first time using your alchemy jug, Kaimana, what do you want for the next 8 hours in your alchemy jug? Beer. So you all watch Kaimana. He pulls the top of this alchemy jug and he looks inside and says beer, and immediately like beer it fills to the top with beer, and he drinks some of it, and when he pulls it down it's still filled to the top with beer, and I forget the exact amount, but Kaimana can probably drink 2 of these full before it's gone.
Oh no.
Can I submerge my head?
Just sticks his head in and comes out dripping, smelling. It's a good beer. Right.
Yeah.
At least you had a lot of bread before.
Yeah.
Oh god.
Definitely enjoy the festival tonight.
What roughly time is it now? Because I imagine those performances took some time.
Yeah, so thinking about like you guys slept in a little bit late between the different tents you've explored and things like that. You're approaching probably around like 5-ish.
Okay.
And around that time, Herman does come out and he says, we're probably around an hour from dusk. Around that time, the field on the riverside of the monastery will be open for viewers. The Halls of Origination will be setting off their fireworks on the opposite bank of the river. So please join us. We're about an hour away, and it'll be beautiful. The moon will be rising directly behind us as the fireworks are flaring. It'll be a wonderful way to capstone this fantastic day of Ascension. And he kind of goes off to continue to organize things.
I dropped 4 gold in the first and 4 gold in the last pots.
Okay.
1 for each artist.
There you go.
Oh, I will just go ahead and drop 5 gold for the last people. They were fantastic.
Yes. My alchemical romance.
It is. If Mar had a playlist, it would just be My Chemical.
Oh yeah.
Actually, Mar does have a playlist, and that's not
Yeah. It's welcome to the Black Parade.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what's on Mar's playlist someday. It's a kick.
We should make playlists.
You guys should make playlists. I could advertise them.
I have like 20 songs for Mar.
Nice.
Really?
Yeah.
Still warm up.
I'm impressed.
Yeah. They did they advertise themselves as performers from Club Orphidia, so there's a chance that if you guys ever encountered Club Orphidia or came across them, you might be able to meet My Alchemical Romance. So, yeah, I don't.
Girl over the movie.
Try to think. I don't think Wash ever talked about that. No, I think he did tell you, Abel, that he went to school in Alyria.
Yeah, sure. He did.
It was you or somebody, I can't remember, but the only school for Mar, you would know that anyway, but the only school for bards is Club Orphidia, so.
So are they clearing the tent out now?
No, so most of the attractions and things were on the kind of the the front side and the front and side of the monastery, and the river side was relatively open, and so they're just kind of directing people over there to kind of the open field in front of the between the riverbank and the monastery, and the Halls of Origination is setting up the fireworks on the opposite bank.
Cool.
I need to eat something.
Okay.
We can go get some more food.
I got no, I ate it.
I have more buns, but I think everyone's probably sick of buns by now. I got like bullshit in one more.
We could never be sick of Northwick buns. How dare you?
They're different every time.
They are
Not in this group.
Not on my watch, damn it.
So easy enough, Saurus. You guys make your way back over to the food area, and you have your pick of several pastries and things. As the evening progressed, she did produce also sausage rolls.
Ooh.
Sausages.
You got some sausage
definitely
rolls.
Definitely go for the sausage rolls.
Yeah, and she gives you this. She gives you as well the friends discount. So each so she's selling them for a couple silver. So for you all, it's 2 for 4 copper. So you can have one, but if you want, she's selling them in bundles. So
I'll buy 2.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll buy 2.
Mm-hmm. And now as you guys are kind of looking, there are a few places where there are kind of drinks set up, just kind of water. There's a few places where, like, it just looks like the monks have set up, like, kind of water drops around the area. So if you wanted to fill up on water or do anything like that, you can as well.
I'll ask Kaimana if he wants to share his jug of beer.
Yeah.
Mar, go ahead and roll a wisdom saving throw for me, please.
Sure. How much you want?
That's not good.
Just enough to wet the back of my throat.
All right. I guess
8.
Okay.
Here, you pour it. Here you go.
Okay. Hold on. I'll hand it back to him. Very.
I lean over to Marlo and just go, Kaimana's face was in that.
No.
I think it's got a little bit of like in it.
Probably. It's a lot of beer though, so I don't know. Like,
and just gonna go from there. I mean, I'm a rat. I would drink it if it were offered to me because I'm a rat. But there's still the observation.
Yeah,
but
it's
not loud enough. But not loud enough for Abel or Kaimana to hear.
It's 4 gallons of beer.
Jesus.
And if Kaimana so wanted it to, he could make it come out at a rate of 2 gallons per minute. So
I'm trying to drink some of it down so he doesn't kill himself.
All right. So what are you gonna head over towards the fireworks area?
Well, there's still the last tent to explore.
What was the last?
Yeah.
The Starfield.
Oh yeah, you guys haven't gone to the Starfall tent.
Oh yeah, you guys should go to the Starfield one. Really cool.
All right.
Really nice people.
Yeah.
All right, so you guys kind of.
They were very nice to Mon. She wanted us to check them out.
Yeah.
Mar
I thought
points
they
the
had a
direction.
great sales pitch. What can I say?
Okay.
Let's head that way then. Yeah?
All right. So you head over towards the Starfall tent, and it is beautiful. It is now lit as dusk is beginning to slowly approach, and when you open the tent, there are 2 people who are walking out who are like is a young man and a woman kind of walking arm in arm, and they walk out and they're like, that's a good idea. We could head that direction now. I think we could make some good time. And they start kind of heading off in the other direction from the monastery. And then you open it up and walk in, and immediately 2 figures greet you and they say, "Oh, welcome to the Starfall tent." And you immediately guys recognize that they are talking in unison, and kind of there's no discordance to their voice. It's almost like the same pitch and tone. What brings you into the Starfall tent today? Very nice.
I'll say our friend here, Marlo, said that you all had a very interesting display set up here. So we thought we would come and visit.
When you turn around to say our friend Marlo here, she's not there.
Where did Marlo go? Can I roll a perception or an investigation to see where she went?
Are you going back out of the tent to look?
Yeah.
As you're going, one of them says, I suggest you stay and listen for a moment. I need you to roll a wisdom saving throw.
I don't like walking the traps.
They're like when you go into Lush.
Yes. You can't.
They're like,
you cannot
no,
get
no,
out.
Come here. You're going to try this hand soap.
A 15?
15. Okay, so Abel, immediately you feel like this energy like hit the back of your brain, and you're like, what? He cast a spell on you.
Okay, so I will immediately grab Kaimana and Source and say, thank you, we appreciate your time. And then we'll just run out as quickly as possible.
Okay.
No, I want to hear what they have to say.
All right. Now you're outside. Anybody who would like to roll a perception check for Mar? Kaimana.
And I'll let them know he just tried to cast his spell on me. I could feel it.
What you mean?
He or she?
It
Was
was
it a girl or girl?
there was a male and a female, and it was the male who cast the spell.
Okay, all right. And you said a perception check?
Yeah.
18.
Okay.
18.
6.
20, 18 plus 2.
All right, so Kaibana, your head is in your alchemy jug. You do not see anything. But Saurus and Abel, scanning around, you don't pick up on sight of Mar anywhere within range of view of where the monastery is. Saurus, with kind of your keener rat senses, you happen to glance to the ground and you notice like 4 sets of boot prints heading in this direction, and then one veering off as you guys got closer to the tent. One set of boot prints veering off towards the woods.
I will let the party know and try to track them.
All right. So go ahead and roll a nature check, and then Mar, go ahead and roll another wisdom saving throw for me, please.
Can I assist with the nature check?
You can assist, yeah.
Okay. Advantage.
Fuck me.
17.
11.
17. Okay. So you guys are. This is helping keep track of how far ahead of her she gets from you guys. So.
And
All right, cool.
I'm concerned. I'm keeping a very close eye on Kamana because he might be
All right.
a little intoxicated.
So, Mar, as dusk has fallen and you start to feel that kind of connection in your body with that lunar cycle, you immediately, that tingling starts to kind of form at the base of your skull and kind of work itself back up, and that warning system is going off, and you realize like you've got 20 minutes, maybe 30 minutes, and you find the quickest and easiest exit away from the grounds, because you know, like, you want to be as far away from other people or as far away from other things as possible before that happens. And you break away from your friends, dashing through. The woods are only 500 feet away. You move stealthily as you possibly can, and you enter into the woods and are immediately enveloped with the sound of the night forest around you. And another 10 minutes goes by, and then 5 more minutes goes by, and you start to feel like your right arm snaps, and then you kind of fall down to your knee, and then your left arm snaps, and then you start to feel like the orbital sockets in your eye like crack, and then your jowls start to extend, and there's blood kind of dripping from these areas and these wounds, and the pain is so great, but you can't scream out because you don't want to draw attention, and so you're biting it in and you're trying to hold it in. Go ahead and roll another wisdom saving throw for me, please.
I'm gonna switch dice. Wow! 9.
So regardless of the training that you've received, you still immediately like lose control, and that breaking on you now goes to your left arm as your arm is changing shape and form, and muscles and sinews are growing and spreading, and the skin on your arm start to tingle and burn as bristly fur rips up your entire arm and then covers your entire body, and your ears shift on your head with a sickening sound, and then they sprout up, and now you can hear everything, and your nose extends and you can feel it breaking your face as it does, but the moment it smacks into place, you can now smell everything, and there is blood about a mile away, and you're gonna go for it.
Okay.
And that's where we'll go ahead and take a break. So we'll go ahead and take our 10-minute break right there with Mar in the woods, and then you guys trying to find her. So we'll be back in 10.
Thank you, Tim.
Thank you, Tim.
Thank you, Tim.
So welcome back from the break. So where we left off, Mar had gone under a harrowing transformation, and the other ticket takers were trying to locate her and find her. So we'll go ahead and kick off with Mar. You immediately your senses kick in. Go ahead and roll a perception check with advantage using your keen senses.
Cool. $15.
All right. So as you're kind of like, coming out of the transformation, and you're getting, Sully, you can't do that right there.
No. Keep that going during the tense setting of the scene.
Lord.
The words.
Now look at her. She's so mad. All right, so as you're kind of like coming out of the transformation, you kind of stumble on your feet a little bit, and you take a couple steps, and then like that smell of blood once again like hits your nostrils, and you kind of start lumbering and then loping, and then you break into a full run, like tearing through the woods. Like your gear is still all kind of strapped to your body, so you're not afraid of it, but you're not even really thinking as you're tearing through, and branches are breaking around you. And as the snow has started to come down a little bit heavier, and you're kind of padding through that cold air breathing around you, there's a moment of freedom, even in the fear of what's kind of taken over and happened to you. But that smell of blood is driving you, and you're following it, and you tear through the forest at full pace for 5 or 6 minutes, and then you sense that it's turning off in another direction, and you follow it that way, and that's the first moment that you kind of skid to a halt, because on the branches of a tree, like against where the white of the snow has kind of hit the branches, you see this spray of red blood against the side of the tree, and you're on it, and you're smelling it, and you immediately are like, food, and you start following that scent, and you take off in this other direction through the woods. Go ahead and roll another perception check with advantage.
I just picture Sostakovich playing in the background.
Yes.
As this is running through the
Wow.
really good Russian music.
Yes.
I'm rolling so bad tonight.
Oh no.
That was 2 5s, so a 9.
Okay, so there's a moment where you're following the trail, and it almost like gets lost, and you're tearing through and trying to find where it is, and you hear like the blood is still driving your senses, but you hear like this like squeaking sound, like kind of 15 feet off in the other direction, and so your brain now has a choice, like, is it going to go for the blood, or is it going to go for the quick the kill? Like, what's your go?
Probably the quick kill.
Okay, so you tear off in that direction, and the moment you go over there, you see like a hare like burst out of a bush and start tearing off in another direction, and it's heading at full pace, and you're much faster than it. Go ahead and roll an attack roll against the hare.
Cool. Oh, now you want to do well. Is an 18 gonna hit a hare?
Oh yeah. So
Okay.
you are pounding, and you kind of leap through the air and you pounce with both paws on it, and you just hear this crack as you snap its back, and now you have this dead hare in your claws, and it's yours.
I eat it.
Good. Right. So you're kind of eating and you're spending some time doing that, and it's it's a small little hare. It's not quite enough filling, and you want to get back on that original trail because it smelled big and good. So go ahead and roll another perception check with advantage.
15.
15. Okay, so you're sniffing around again, and you pick up on this scent again, and you realize why you lost it. There's a small creek that was running through the area, but there's just enough of a breeze in the air as the snow is pelting down, that you pick up on that fragrance, and it's almost kind of like you can almost like see. It's like the Avatar beast that can follow. It sees with its nose, right? And you are able to follow that, and you bound across the creek, and you tear off into the woods, and for another 5 or 6 minutes you're tracking that way. Meanwhile, you guys. You're following the tracks into the woods. Saurus, go ahead and roll just a nature check or survival check as you're trying to follow the tracks. Or whoever wants to, if you're proficient in survival, you can also roll.
I am not, so.
I'll roll.
Okay, go ahead, come on it.
Do I need to be at disadvantage for being hammered?
Yeah, I think now at this point you probably drank enough that you're at disadvantage.
Okay, that's a 10 still.
A 10, Saurus?
10.
10. Okay. So there's a moment where you guys are kind of like losing the track a little bit, but then you get into kind of where there's some heavier embankments of where the snow has been blown, and you do see a couple footprints heading into the woods, and you're able to get a general path that like you feel like, okay, she's heading this way. There's not enough of a steady track find for you to be certain that you're following her direct path, but you can head in that direction for a little while before you kind of pick up on anything else. So go ahead and both of you again, you can roll, or one of you can roll with advantage if you want to help.
What's your survival bonus, Kamana?
6.
And then I will assist you so you can get a straight roll.
Okay. Oh, that's a natural 20.
Natural 20. So,
So
Even-
26.
I just see Kamana starting to wander off. I just grab him and put him, and then he's just like...
it's like, oh, all of your senses
You
kick
see
in.
videos of otter sliding in snow.
Yeah. So, Saurus helps right you, and all of your senses kick in, and you're like, oh, right here. And you guys pick up on the tracks again. But there's a moment where you get to a place where there's a kind of a slight clearing in the forest, and all of the snow here has been greatly disturbed. There's broken branches all over the place. There's blood on the ground. And Kaimana, with that roll, you immediately pick up that this is Mars blood. And it looks like a large creature of some kind was also present in this area. And the only tracks that you see leaving the area are this large creature's tracks.
I think she's been kidnapped by an elk.
With that roll, you realize that it's the padded feet, not hooved feet.
An elk wearing padded feet.
There you go.
He's so optimistic.
In all seriousness, though, no, I think something big with teeth has her.
Then we should go get her back.
All right.
I'll go ahead and pull out my force bolts.
Okay, so that's ready for the next hour.
My flamethrower. Yeah.
Your flamethrower for the next hour. You've got your flamethrower activated, and so you guys have the tracks that you're following, and that natural 20 will carry you for. It will cut a little bit of the time differential there off of.
Well, she did stop to eat a hair.
She did, yeah. And so you guys are kind of starting to catch up on that. Mar, as you are kind of tearing through the forest, the smell is getting a little bit stronger. Go ahead and roll another perception check with advantage.
18.
18. So it's getting closer, and it's getting, but it's weirdly starting to mix with other smells. And there's a moment where you hear something that kind of draws you to an immediate stop. You hear the oh, like deeper into the woods of a howl of a wolf, and then oh, another one immediately kind of following it a moment later. And it's coming from the direction where you think that this smell is leading you to, but you're tearing off in that direction, and eventually you come to a clearing. There's these large conifer pine trees, kind of dusted in white snow. At the center of the clearing is this kind of large pond that is fed by a small creek that hasn't started to freeze over or anything yet. And the backside of the pond is a small kind of rising cliff face that kind of comes down to the other end. And right in front of the pond, you see a snowy white elk that looks like it was brought down by maybe 2 large creatures or 1 very large creature.
Is there any, stuff left on the elk?
Yeah, there's plenty of meat still left on the elk.
Alright.
All right, so you go to eat, and so you start eating on the elk. Going back to Source, and Source, go ahead and roll, or come on and go ahead and roll another survival check with advantage.
Okay. With advantage.
It's just a straight roll because you're at disadvantage, but then Source is giving you advantage, so it's just a straight roll. Yeah. Oh, Sully.
That's an 18.
18. All right. So you get to a point where the track veers off suddenly in one direction, but you notice that there's blood on these leaves at that point, and you are kind of stopped. And like rather than following that, you notice that the same tracks seem to appear coming back from that direction and then tearing off in another way. And so you follow the right fork, which again cuts a little bit of the time difference between you and where Mar is. All right. So you guys are tracking through there, and still no sign of Mar's footprints. You're only seeing these 4 large, predatory footprints of some kind heading in that direction at a full run. And so you guys are taking off that way.
Maybe it's giving her a ride.
All right. Mar, you're eating. Now that you've satiated some of the bloodlust of needing the food in the meal, there's a moment of kind of clarity that washes over you a little bit, and the training that starts to kick in for a moment. But there's so much blood, and there's so much. The smell is just overwhelming. Go ahead and roll another wisdom saving throw.
4.
A 4. Yeah, so you're tearing into this, and
I have switched out so many d20s this evening.
And so as you are kind of tearing into this, you suddenly, like, there is a moment in your senses where you just hear this slight, like, patting sound up on the ridge above you. And you do pause for long enough to, like, look up with a growl, and you see a very large, like, probably bigger than you, white wolf with this shock of blue, almost like looking like living flame coursing down the middle of its back, and it just kind of gets up and it's looking down at you, and it sits down on its haunches and is peering down in your direction, and you hear a voice kind of pierce into your head. It says, "I think you might be lost, little one."
Who are you?
Some call me the Winter. And she pauses for a moment. She says, "My name is Hottie." And then you hear another voice, and it's still in your head, but you can tell that it's coming from to the side, on the other side of the ridge from you. And you follow this, and you see another white wolf with same kind of look, but like instead of ice, it's blue fire, it's a reddish fire going down its back. And you hear this, "I feel the rage inside of you. Is this what you want to feel?" Sally says no.
Sounded like a yes to me. Yes. Oh, goodness.
It's all I know.
And then the female voice comes back, and "I don't think that's true. I think that you've been offered a path, and you've avoided it so far."
I don't want this.
All right. And with that moment, you see Hottie kind of jump off of the ridge, and she comes down towards you. She's not being aggressive at all, but she is approaching you in the kill. And she starts to walk around you in a circle. And then Skull hops off of the ridge, and he matches her, almost like two koi fish swimming in a pond, like in a yin-yang. And they're circling around you like this. And there's this energy between them that the closer they get to one another, you can feel it starting to build between them. And you feel like you're almost at the eye of a storm. And suddenly there's this calm that washes over you from their presence. You don't come out of your werewolf form, but you have much better control of your faculties.
Is it like a faux pas to eat what you killed? Should I not have done that?
If we didn't want you to eat it, we wouldn't have let you eat it.
Oh.
Please, take your fill.
Thanks.
And Hottie just kind of, finally, like, Hottie sits on one side of the pond from you, and then Skull on the other, and they're just watching you.
Sorry for the train.
Oh, is that a train?
Yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah, and it's going to be loud in a second.
Oh, it's okay.
So I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
I will try to mute what I can.
Well, and so we can also cut. And so as you're sitting there and you're eating and you're taking part, but you feel like you have a little bit better control now because of their presence. But they're just sitting there watching you. We cut back to Kaimana's group. You guys have one final check. So Kaimana, go ahead and roll a survival check with just a straight roll.
Let's see. That is a 15.
15. Okay, so there's a moment where you kind of slow in your progress a little bit, but then thanks to the building snow, you're able to see like where a body has knocked the snow off of branches and has cleared a path going through the base of a few trees, and you feel like you're kind of getting close to something. Like with your senses, you're starting to hear a wolf cry in the distance, and you think, okay, like that seems to be coming from the direction of where all of this is leading to. You seem to be getting close to it. At that moment, Mar, as you're sitting there and you're calmly kind of eating and you're in their calm presence, what's your passive perception?
Is Grace frozen?
No, she's
No,
looking.
I'm looking for it.
Okay. So your video was frozen on my screen, so.
Ah. Where is this on D&D Beyond? Oh, there it is. 14.
14. Okay. So you're so focused on the kill that you don't sense anything coming.
Okay.
But you're eating, you're down, your snout's down, you're looking, and suddenly you hear from the skull side of the lake, you hear, and you look over, and there's an arrow that is now pierced into Skull's back. And he's kind of leaning forward a little bit, and he's like limping on his leg and like moving towards Hottie. And you immediately kind of jump up. Go ahead and roll a perception check with advantage.
Thank you. Finally, some good fucking food. 22.
22. And so with that, let me go ahead and switch over to a map. Mar, I'm gonna go ahead and put. I don't have a werewolf Mar, so I'll just put regular Mar up here.
Okay.
I'm getting one now that we've unveiled who you are, but you're kind of here at the front with the elk, and then Hottie was on that side and Skull was on that side. With your perception, what you see is up here on the ridge, kind of behind this tree, you see a tabaxi figure pulling back another arrow from a bow to fire again towards Scotty, or towards Skull.
Your skull.
Yeah.
I'm gonna try to get up to him.
Okay. So go ahead and roll initiative for me really quick.
Okay. Am I crazy? I don't get advantage on this or anything, right?
I
That's not a
don't
thing.
think you get advantage on initiative.
But you get to add your dexterity.
Yeah, you had
Right,
dexterity to it.
right.
Yeah.
Didn't. I rolled twice, but I will take the first. I'm so sorry.
That's
We
fine,
just talked
yeah.
about it. 24.
24. Okay, so with that,
I rolled a 19.
So with that, you see this figure pulling back the bow or getting ready to notch another arrow. You do get to act first.
Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna attack them.
Okay. What's your full movement speed?
I don't think it changed. It's still 30. Yeah. So
Okay.
full movement is 60.
60. So you can get up to the person to kind of
Okay.
intercept them. You won't be able to take an action this turn.
No, that's fine. I just kind of want to block, I guess, any of their shots.
Good.
To make on Skull.
Good. And you
So I just get up
do
in her face.
do you want to take a bonus action to do anything?
Can I do anything as a bonus action?
You can do your Crimson Right.
Oh, that's right! I want to do my Crimson Right, and I want to get it on my claws, so my
All right.
claws turn into lightning. Oh,
So
I've never been able to do
you
this. I'm so excited.
you slash your arm, and the blood kind of coagulates and then goes on your claw, and now your claw is cloaked in lightning as
I
you're
take
charging
1
up.
damage from that.
Okay, 1 damage. And as you're getting up close to it, even in the haze of your kind of rage and anger, you recognize this person. This is Caden. He was the Tabaxi Ranger that you guys fought against as a member of the Slaughterers in the opening session.
Oh, shit!
Yeah.
This is the one that I schooled in the
Yes.
obstacle course.
Yep. So you took 1 point of damage from that. So Caden's
That's
there.
a good memory. Yeah.
All right. Good, which takes us to, let's see, Caden, oh no, next up. So from the other side of, over here, you hear a sound coming around this tree, and you glance over, and this you see is Sora, the cleric, who was also one of the members of the Slaughterers. And she kind of gestures out in your direction, and I need you to roll a saving throw. Hold on, let me find my sheet, and I'll tell you what kind of saving throw it is. I need you to roll. Oh God, it's a dexterity saving throw. So, but she doesn't know that. So,
26.
yeah. So you're fine. So you feel this like
Why
radiant.
did I roll well in combat and then nothing else?
Oh, I know. You feel this radiant energy kind of blast against you for a second, but then you shrug it off, and it takes no effect. And you hear her curse, and she goes, "What is this, man? We just have to drop this off." And she's dancing kind of over this way a little bit, and moving in front of this tree to get a clearer view of the wolves. And then after that, oh, sorry, it wasn't Caden, it was Kite, was the one that you faced off against. And then immediately after that, you hear from back on this side of the ridge another person coming up, and they're saying, just do it. Let's just get this over with. He said he'd pay us after it's over. And he's going to point down towards Skull, and he's going to cast Firebolt at Skull.
I swear to God.
Nope, Firebolts do not hit this campaign. That was a 4.
They cannot.
And so he kind of curses, but he moves there. All right, which takes us to the top. And so, like, this is happening. Where you guys are at, you're about 2 rounds out of the... You cut the time down from 1 minute separation between you and Mar to about 15 seconds or so. So we'll say 2 rounds. So if Abel, Kaimana, and Soros will go ahead and roll initiatives so that when you arrive, you are ready to go. That was the first round.
Cool. Ooh. I rolled a 17.
17 for Abel,
15.
I rolled an 8.
15 for Soros, and an 8 for Kaimana. Awesome. All right, let me just sort this real quick. All right, so that takes us to Hadi and Skull. And so seeing Hadi getting hit, or seeing Skull get hit, Hadi charges over in his direction, and she kind of lumbers over, and she never gets more than 5 feet away from him. And he kind of turns, and the closer they get, the more the energy around them seems to build. And you immediately notice that the air in this vicinity, in this area, picks up. And the air is blowing a lot harder, and the snow is coming down a lot heavier. It was almost just like the moment that they came into this contact with one another, that occurred. And she's kind of like, she licks at his wound for a second, and then she's gonna kind of bound to this side as he kind of forms that yin-yang with her. And she's going to look in the general direction of the cleric, and you see like her eyes like go blue, and her mouth opens, and she lets forth this like burst of wintry energy that blasts out in the cleric's direction. So that is... Sully, stop licking me. Dexterity saving throw for the cleric, which was a natural 1, so she...
That's gonna hurt.
Yeah. And because she was within 5 feet of Scotty, it's even stronger, so... oh wow, so the cleric, you see like this energy blast out, and it's almost like it lashes around the cleric's legs, and she gets frozen in place for a moment. She took 15 points of damage from the blast. And she kind of curses out, and she's like, "They said this would be easier! Drop it now!" And then that takes us to Skull, who's going to spend a moment like just kind of moving around her, and you see the arrow pop out of his shoulder, and the wound closes up a little bit. And that'll be his turn. Good. That takes us to the top. Mar.
Yeah, I want to attack the dude in front of me.
All right, go ahead and roll for your attacks.
Natural 20.
Okay, well, it definitely hits.
Okay.
As Mark
I get
says,
2
oh no, you
attacks?
didn't.
Yeah,
Am I crazy?
you still
I
get your 2 attacks. Yeah.
Okay. The second one is a 13.
13 does not hit. So go ahead and roll
Okay,
the damage on
cool.
your 20.
Do we roll the dice twice, or do we just double the dice?
I think if you're rolling on D&D Beyond, it makes the choice for you, but you can just go ahead and double the dice.
Okay.
If we can change that.
So it's 14 slashing damage, and then 6 points of lightning damage.
Okay.
20 damage.
Good, nice, very good hit. So you kind of rake out, and not expecting this sudden burst from another wolf creature, Kite kind of rears back a little bit, but you swipe across his chest, and you rip into the armor, and you expose some of the skin underneath, and there's blood. Pretty hurt from the first hit. Good. All right, anything you want to do with the rest of your turn there, Mar?
No, I'm gonna hold my ground.
All right, cool. Which takes us to Sora. After that blast, Sora kind of is going to break free from the ice and then move back here, and she's going to point in. She's going to point in Kite's direction and cast Healing Word. And okay, cool. He heals up for 8 points from that. And she's again just kind of encouraging them to do what they're supposed to do and get the fuck out of there. And that kind of ends her turn. And then that goes to Caden, who now, seeing a little bit of an opportunity here, the wizard steps forward. And seeing both wolves very close together is going to target them. And let's see. He is going to cast Magic Missile at 2nd level, and 2 targeting Hadi and 2 targeting Skull. So against Skull, that's 3, 4, 5 points of damage, and against Hadi, that's 6 points of damage. As you see, like, him kind of focus for a moment, and then these orbs of light flash out, and then 2 slam into the Winter Wolf, and 2 slam into the Summer Wolf. All right. All right, Abel, as you are kind of tearing through the woods, you're starting to hear this off in the distance, the sound of commotion and fighting. You're approaching it. What angle are you guys coming into this fight from, do you think? I guess that'd be a question for Kaimana as well.
Well, whatever. We're tracking how.
Yes, whichever direction she came in.
Okay, good. So Mar, you guys are approaching from this way over here. So in this round is the round where you're going to start coming into it. If you can't see yourself yet, that's okay. You're going to be moving into the fight this direction.
Okay.
We just see a bunch of people fighting wolves.
All you can see from this area is that you see 2 giant wolves at the pond. Everything else is happening up on the ridge, so it's a little out of your view. But you see one wolf with bluish fire going down its back, and another wolf with actual fire going down its back, and they're circling each other in front of the pond there. So Abel, you see this as you're coming in.
From the signs of everything that's going on at the point that we came into the fight, would it be fair to say that I can discern that these are probably the wolves that were told by Herman in his little poem?
Wasn't Herman, but the
My Alchemical Romance.
Yeah.
Please.
that
Sorry.
My Alchemical Romance sang about. Yeah,
And-
seeing it, go ahead and roll. Yeah, just go ahead and roll a general intelligence check to see if in the chaos of this you make that connection.
Okay. 18, 14 plus 4?
Yeah, so clearing through the coming out of the clearing, you're like, oh, it wasn't a legend, I guess. And you immediately notice that that's who these 2 wolves are there.
Okay. Do I see the damage from like the magic missile and them attacking the wolves?
At this distance, you wouldn't be able to see any damage that they've taken. But you have heard the
Maybe
commotion.
See the arrow protruding out of skull?
It already popped out.
Yeah, the arrow fell out
Yeah,
into
he
the
healed from
into the
that.
snow. Yeah, and it's on the ground next to him. It would be hard for you to see, but the ground around Skull, the snow melts wherever he's standing. So it's, but yeah.
Okay. Do I see a werewolf attacking people?
No, you're too far away at this range, unless you want to use your action to roll a perception check.
No, I do want to get a little bit closer. Maybe.
Okay.
So I'm going to use my 30 feet. 30. And I'm going to hold there. I think that's as close as Abel would probably get.
Okay.
Just to see, like, because I can't see anyone else up on the ridge. I can just see these two, and I'm thinking, like, oh my gosh, like, the legend was real. I
Yeah.
want to get a little closer.
Yeah.
Maybe.
At this range, a lot of this is happening out of your line of sight behind some trees, so it's hard for you to kind of see and put it together. So yeah. All right.
Okay.
So you're there. Good.
Yep.
Saurus, you saw Abel kind of tear ahead, and you're seeing these two wolves in front of you.
I might have said something like, it's the wolves from the legend or something.
Okay. Yeah.
Don't harm them. I'll move my full 45 into the clearing. Kind of head slightly north of Abel, so I'm kind of head towards that tree. Yeah, kind of right there.
Okay.
Do I hear or see any of the commotion up on the ridge?
Go ahead and roll a perception check.
That would be a 14.
14. You do hear over in this general vicinity, you hear kind of the animal sounds of something, and then you hear somebody like screaming out in pain, kind of over in this area. And then you do hear a cursing sound of a woman going, "Just drop the fucking thing and let's get out of here!"
All right, I'm going to head towards the sound of combat. I am going to dash.
Okay.
So that's another 45 feet.
All right. So you can get to there. So in the next round, you could get on top.
I'm going to spend a key point, step of the wind,
Okay.
Jesus.
and go another 45.
All right. So go ahead and roll an acrobatics check to clear the ridge.
I love the imagery of when monks use their full movement
Oh,
to step in
yes.
the wind, because it's like in 6 seconds they're just gone.
Yeah. It's like
It's crazy.
That is what's athletics?
acrobatics.
Acrobatics.
Yeah. I let you do that
Acrobatics.
monk check.
That's
50. Okay, yeah. So you pop up and you land up here, and immediately you see the back of a large, slightly larger than human wolf creature, like up on its hind legs, but like 2 rapiers strapped at its side, and it's currently clawing at a tabaxi figure that you recognize.
I don't know which one I'm going to hit yet, but I close in as close as I can to both of them.
Okay,
So I
so
finish my moves. Basically, I want to get within strike distance for next round.
all right, so you are now within 5 feet of both of them. You can hit either one. So yeah,
Yeah.
good. All right,
Do
good.
I have my rapiers with me?
Yeah, all of your gears stays with you.
Oh. Okay. I just want to assume I busted out of it. but that's
No, like especially not the magical one. It would have stayed with you
right.
for sure.
Yeah, that makes sense.
All right.
Then we have to go back through the woods and find your stuff in the snow. It'd be horrible.
That's what they did in Twilight, man.
Oh Lord, let's not turn this into Twilight for sure.
It's
All right.
always Twilight for me.
Yeah, no.
Also, you would notice maybe this werewolf has lightning on their claws.
Yeah, you would notice that. That's true. All right, so that takes us to the ranger. Seeing both of, like, seeing you charging into his face and attacking, and then seeing a recognizable rat figure also charging out of the darkness towards him. He's like, "Oh shit!" And he drops his bow and pulls out 2 kind of jagged-looking short swords, and he's going to make a weapon attack against you, Mar, which is a 17 to hit.
17 just hit.
All right. So that is.
'Cause I guess I'm not wielding the rapiers right now, right? So I wouldn't get the bonus from dual wield.
No,
right?
that's right. Yeah, that's true.
Cool. So it is
yep.
17.
But you do take reduced damage from non.
Are her claws considered weapons? Like, would
I think I have to be wielding.
Yeah,
something
it's
with
wielding
claws
weapon.
don't,
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
I think
Yeah.
count. Yeah.
So that is 8 points of slashing damage reduced to 4 on Umar, and then he's going to use his Horde Breaker ability and immediately make a swing over in your direction, Saurus.
That determines who I'm
Yeah.
looking at.
that's true.
That's a 17 to hit Saurus.
That is my armor class.
All right, and that is 8 points of slashing damage.
Okay.
And then he. Oh, I should have done this first. This is what I gets for not playing a ranger. He's going to. You feel like this weird energy kind of wrap around you, Mar, and he's Hunter's marked you.
Yeah, whatever. Sure.
Just put a little mark on you so you know your Hunter's marked. So I know your Hunter's marked. All right. Which then takes us. Your figure makes it difficult to put little things on you. All right. Anyway, your Hunter marked. All right. Which takes us to Skull. So seeing this commotion kind of up on the ridge, he's gonna kind of bound a little bit of outside of the range of Hadi, and as they're moving around each other, you notice that the temperature decreases even more in the area, and the wind picks up even more. You feel like if you were to throw something or in this range, that you might have run into danger with like things flying in the area. And he's going to bound up on the hill, and she's going to kind of move with him. And he's going to go for the wizard who pegged him, and he's going to make an attack against the wizard. That hits. Nice one on that. That's great. So the wizard takes 5 points of damage. But then Hadi's going to wing in behind that and make another attack. And that one hits as well. And that's 5 points of damage. All right. So then that takes us to Kaimana.
Yeah. I'm going to cast Shillelagh
Okay.
and just move me in a direct path towards the closest.
Probably like the getting to here is putting you in equidistance to all the enemies. Yeah. And then that was your bonus action. Do you want to go ahead and use your action to dash?
Yeah.
All right. So then bring you around the ridge. Yeah. Get you there. So now you can get up on the ridge to face off against any of them.
Yeah, that's my turn.
All right. So come on. Which takes us to the top of the initiative order. At that moment, Caden, the wizard who just got mauled by the two wolves, he chucks something and it sails through the air and lands kind of right on the edge of the pond. And he says, it's down, let's get the fuck out of here. And so Mar, you hear that in the corner, but it's your turn.
Okay. I have a question.
Yes.
Because I'm essentially using my subclass for the first time here.
Yes.
Can I use one of my rapiers and then do a bonus action claw attack?
Sure. They're both
Okay.
weapon attacks, so I would say yeah.
Cool. So I would like to use the Rapier of Wounding.
Okay, so you draw that. Yep.
Yeah, draw that, and then attack the guy, the kite, I think,
Yes.
in front of me.
Yep.
Okay. Cool. So, 17 to hit with the rapier.
He slashes up with his short sword and parries it to the side.
Ow. claw attack.
Okay, go ahead.
20, not natural.
That hits even with the parry. So go ahead and roll your damage. Yep.
Okay. What? Okay. 11.
11
Plus,
points of damage.
Plus, wait. Oh god, I forget. 1.
All right. So he shrugs aside the first attack, but then your claw comes out of nowhere and hits him. I mean, he's looking pretty hurt from this attack from this werewolf creature that's in his face on this.
And
yeah.
I assume I haven't noticed Saurus up here yet.
Saurus moves pretty stealthy. You're pretty focused on your prey, so
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Cool.
All right, which takes us to initiative count 20. At that moment, the device that you saw the mage chuck, it landed on the ground in front of this pond right here, and you see it start to light up and whir, and click, 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 and then suddenly a portal opens in the air right above the pond right here. And you hear this sound of like screeching and yelling coming from the portal, and 2 imps fly out and start circling around. The first thing they notice is Abel over here, so one's gonna land over here and go to Abel. The other one notices Kaimana and lands down here to go towards Kaimana. And they're gonna make a sting attack against you, Kaimana. That's only a 8 to hit. That's not. Wait, hold on. 7 plus. No, a 12 to hit. Miss. Okay, and then against you, Abel, that's a 19.
That hits.
All right. So you take from the sting of this imp creature. You take 3 points of piercing damage plus 8 points of poison damage, and I need you to make a Constitution saving throw.
Jesus.
Sorry, the damage will be halved if you succeed on the saving throw. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Let's see. Oh, I got proficiency with con saves. 19 plus 4, 23.
Okay, good. So you only take 4 points of poison damage from the sting. Good. And so now we're there. And so now you all see, like, we have these 3 individuals up here, the one who tossed a portal here that just opened and released 2 devils into the area. And all of you can sense that those are not the last devils that are going to make their way out of this portal. And with that, we'll go ahead and pick up next week.
Oh.
Yep. I figure with the way that's going, it would go well past 10 o'clock, so...
It'd be a bit long.
Yeah.
But that's
That's fair. We have work tomorrow.
Yeah, let me-
Why would Peter be in?
Let me switch back to the other Sully. Sully tells us time to stop playing. All right, so several big events happening there, and then trying to figure out what on earth is happening with these people in the woods.
Yeah, I need to make notes because I need to figure out, like, Abel probably would have seen the guy take a swipe at Saurus, and like, would he recognize the rapier as Mars' weapon?
At this
Probably not just as
15, 20, 30, you're still about 60 feet away from
Oh,
them.
I didn't take the wounding action with that rapier on that dude. I forgot.
So he is wounded, so on his next turn he'll roll he'll roll damage. Actually, He went after you, so hold on. Additional 4 points of damage. Let me go ahead and see if he makes the Constitution saving throw. Nope, he's still wounded. So
Loser.
he's still wounded.
Got him.
Yep. All right. So we'll pick up there next week with the showdown in the forest and figuring out whatever's happening here, and Skull and Hottie. So.
I think those names are very, they fit very well with the whole My Alchemical Romance group, and
Yeah.
Also, just from Norse mythology. So,
but it's just like
yep.
if you make a more modern twist, like it's Skull and Hottie.
Skull and Hottie are the lead singers of My Alchemical Romance.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Is it Skull Skoall or Skull Skull?
Skoll, yeah. But it sounds like Skull for sure.
It does. That's why I'm like, if you want to modernize it,
Yeah.
into a punk emo band, of course they would sing a song about Skull and Hottie. So Skull.
And Saurus has been saved with his damage and key points spent.
All right. Yeah. So we'll pick up here we were at initiative count 20 when the imps came out. So it'll be right after Mars go. So Mars has gone, but we'll pick up after that point. It's going into next week. All right. So thank you all so much. I'll see you all next week.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.
Ciao.